Everyone, welcome again to another video of SAT Math Explained. Today our topic will be about percentages, which is a focus skill in the problem solving and data analysis domain. So let's just get straight to it. So what do you need to know to solve these questions? Basically, it's important to know when to convert from percentage to decimal and when not to. So sometimes there's some questions where you are going to want to just keep it as a percentage. And how do you change it from percentage to decimal if you are prompted to? Anytime you have a percentage like this, like for example 50%, just divide it by 100 and then you'll get the decimal form. So if it was 100 divided by 100, the decimal form would be 1. If it was 90%, it would be 0.9, 80%, 0.8, and so on. So another thing is to interpret word problems. So similar to these go hand in hand. To know when to convert from percentage to decimal, you need to be able to interpret what the word problem wants from you, and that can help with setting up equations, which then you will probably be prompted to find unknown values. And then something that helps also is the percent increase slash decrease formula. So it's the final value minus the initial value, all divided by the initial value times 100. That will show up on maybe like one or two questions, but it is good to know. Another thing good to know, which I'm going to show an example of, if you have a percentage, how can you go from a percent to back to the total amount? So let's say it tells you like 5% of the marbles are red. How do you 5% of the total number of marbles are red? How do you go back to the total amount? So that's something I'm going to show on later in the examples. You need to know how to apply previous skills, because sometimes you're gonna need to like set up a proportion to solve the question, and that would be applying previous skills. Setting up proportions, a lot of algebra skills. You will always need the algebra skills in almost every single domain for like solving for values, solving for x, something like that. And something good to know, if there's like two percentages and it tells you or, that means you add the chances of something happening. So let's say like there's 5% chance of pulling a blue marble, 10% chance of pulling a red marble. If it asks you, what are the chances of pulling a red or blue marble? Or means to add, so you do 10% plus 15%, you would get 10% plus 15%, you would get 25%. I think I said 5 and 10, so it would be 15%. And then if it says and, that means multiply. So let's say, same example, you have 5%, 5% and 10%, and it tells you and, what you would do is you would need to multiply them. But remember, this is in percent form, so it's not going to be 50%. You're going to have to do 5%, so 5 over 100 times 10 over 100, and whatever that's how you find the chances of getting both of them. So and not or. So that is it for what all you need to know. If there's anything that I missed, I will go over in the examples, but I don't think I missed anything. So how do you solve these questions? First thing, it's important to understand the relationship between the information given. So if they give you like a paragraph of information, how do they relate together? And sometimes they won't. Like some of the questions that I saw in the question bank, they give you like so much information, and all you need was like one sentence out of the whole paragraph to solve the question. So sometimes they give you extra information to confuse you. So you need to be able to like sift through, find the information need, understand the relationship between the information, so that you can understand that. Then you also need to understand what is being given, and then you use the relationships and the information that you found from the word problem, and you can apply it to what is being asked to solve for it. So use the skills you know how to solve, and possibly you can use Desmos. Desmos don't help that much. It can't help you. Like, you can't solve a question using only Desmos. You have to first do like the first three steps: understand what is being asked, sift the information, get an equation. Then you could use Desmos for like basic calculations just to solve for the variable. So that is it for how to solve. Let's move on to the examples. And as always, I like to repeat this. Make sure that you are solving the examples on your own before watching my explanation, because that will not help you learn the SAT math, and will just give you a false sense of understanding, which might be harmful on testing. So as usual, we're going to do 2 easy questions, 2 medium questions, and a single hard question. And so let's get started. So this is a table of the US minimum wage for 6 different years shown below. So 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010. And then it asks us what is the percent increase of the minimum wage from 1960 to 1970. So if you recall, the what to know, the percent increase slash decrease formula is final minus initial over initial, basically, if you want to memorize it like that. That's how I memorize it. Final minus initial over initial. So final minus initial over initial. So what is it tells us from 1960 to 1970. So we start in the closest one to like the one in the future basically, or the one that happened after. So 1970 happened after, it's the final basically. So you get 1.6 minus 1, the initial value, divided by 1, and then all that is times 100. So 1.6 minus 1 is 0.6 over 1, so you get equals 60%. And there's like this, you could put it into decimals to get the 60%. But yeah, so right here, technically for this question, because the first thing was in the first thing was 1.00, and then it went to 1.6, you could have technically just said it went up 60%. But in other examples, it's not always going to be like a number like that, a number like 1, 10, or 100. So you should always just like know you should always know this formula, because although for this one you could have just said, okay, it went from 1 to 1.6, that's 60%. It won't always work like that. So yeah, so the percent increase of the minimum wage is 60%. So that is option B. And let's move on to the second one. This one tells us that Lonnie spent 15% of her 8-hour work days in meetings. How many minutes of her work days did she spend in meetings? Okay, so 15%. So if we want to, first thing, let's just convert 15% to a decimal so that we can work with the 8 hours. So 15 over 15% divided by 100 will give us the percentage in a decimal. And this was actually coincidentally the example I gave in the beginning. But yeah, so it's 0.15. So 0.15 is the decimal. So if we want 15% of her 8-hour workday, we can just multiply this by the 8 hours, and that will give us how much time she spent in her meetings. So 0.15 times 8. I'm pretty sure that's going to be 1.2. I'm just going to make sure with decimals. 1.5 times 8. Yeah, 0.15 times 8 is 1.2. So you get 1.2. So you might want to, okay, let me circle this. But that is, you have to pay attention to the question. This was something that I went over in my previous video for converting units. They're always going to try and trick you with mismatched units. Right here it says 8 hours. Right here it says how many minutes, and they did underline it for you. But sometimes you will still miss it. So always make sure to reread what they're asking for. So now we have 1.2 hours. This is because we just multiplied. This was 8 hours. So this 15% of 8 hours is 1.2 hours. But they want it in minutes. So to convert hours to minutes, 1.2 hours times 60 minutes gives us 60 minutes per hour. 60 minutes per hour. Though this cancel out, you get 1.2 times 60 gives you minutes. So 1.2 times 60 is 72. Just gonna make sure. 1.2 times 60 is, yeah, it's 72. So that is the number of minutes that she spends in her meetings. So as always, make sure to check what the question is asking for after you solve it to make sure there's no mismatched units. And sometimes other things they might change. Like let's say you solve for x, the question will ask you for what is 5x or something like that. So just make sure to always reread the question after you solve. Now that's it. That's the 2 easy questions. Now we're gonna move on to 2 mediums. So this one isn't a word problem, it just gives us the information. It tells us that a number k is 36% greater than 50. So k is equal to, let's just like write the information down. K is equal to 36% greater than 50. 36% greater than 50. So if it's greater than, it's going to be 50 times 1 plus 0.36. We change this, and that will give you because if you just do times 0.36, it's going to be a smaller number, and that's how I remember. It says greater than, so just remember to add it to 1. It's 36% greater, so that would mean 1 plus 0.36. And we change the percentage to a decimal by dividing by 100. So then we were told that k is the product of 50 and r. So then we were told that k is equal to 50 and r. What is the value of r? So there's two ways to solve for this. First thing, you could technically solve for k, plug it in, and then solve for r. Or you could just realize this is k, there's a k here, there's a 50 here, there's a k here, so equal to 50 here. There's also the equal and the equal. And then there's 50 times a number. Right here it's 1 plus 0.36. Right here it is r. So then from there you could just say, okay, I know the answer is 1.36. So that's the pattern they want you to recognize. Let's say you didn't recognize it. You solved for k. So 50 times 1.36, put that into decimals, 0.36. K is equal to 68. K is equal to 68. And then you said, so 68, plug it in here. 68 is equal to 50r. Solve for r by dividing both sides by 50. R divide by 50. 68 divided by 50, I'm going to get the decimal form, because that's how all the answer options are. And that is 1.36, like we said before. So yeah, so they made it so that there's a pattern they want you to recognize to save time. If you don't, it's not going to cost you that much time, maybe like 15-20 seconds. But yeah, so that's the answer. 1.36 is the value of r. And you check the answer, there's no tricks, it just says what is the value of r. And let's move on to the next medium question. Similar to the last one, this one doesn't have word problems. So this focus skill specifically, there's not really a lot of problems to choose from. So it's hard to so these were the ones that I could find. So this one says that a number n is increased 6%. So n becomes 1.06 times n. So this is similar to the last one. If it increases by 6%, you have to do 1 plus 0.06 times n. That is an n, not an h. And the result is 318. So that means, so if we multiply this, so you get 1.06 n is equal to 318. And they're asking us, so what is the value of n? So from here, this is an example of they give you the percentage, so they tell you that when n is increased 6% plus 318, they want you to go back to the original value. So here, if you try doing it in your mind, it's going to be very confusing. So always try to write down your work. So right here, it looks so simple when you just write it down. 1.06 n is equal to 318. I'm going to divide both sides by 1.06. Divide this by 1.06. And then I get n is equal to, and I just put this in decimals. 318 divided by 1.06. I get n equals 300. And that's the answer, 300. And so if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments, and I'll make sure to answer them. If it's about this or any other thing, or you want to request a video, just anything, just let me know in the comments. So that is it for the medium questions today. I think it's going to be a quick, a shorter video than usual. So let's just move on to the hard questions. This one tells us that a school district is forming a committee to discuss plans for the construction of a new high school. Of those invited to join the committee, 15% are parents, 45% are teachers from the current high school, 25% are school and district administrators, and the remaining 6 are individual students. How many more teachers were invited to join the committee than school and district administrators? So right here, I see that they want us to find the amount. So we're told the percentages, we're supposed to find the number of people and then convert that back to, and then find the difference between the teachers and the school and the administrators. So here, you have to realize they gave you the students as 6. They gave you a number for students instead of a percentage. That is to allow you to solve for it. So there's only 4 types of people who joined: the parents, the teachers, and the administrators. So to find the percentage of it tells us that the remaining people were students. So that means the students are the percentage of students would be equal to 100, that's the total, minus 45, minus 15, minus 25. This is going to give us the percentage that were students, which were 6 people. So 100 minus 45 minus 15 minus 25, that is 75, I think. No, that is 85. So okay, so 100 minus 45 becomes 100 minus 85. I keep second guessing myself. I just want to make sure. Minus 15 minus 25. Yeah, okay. So then you get 100 minus 85, and then 15 is the percentage left, and that is the percent of students, because it says the remaining people were students. So, percent of students. So now we know that let's assume that let's say that x is the total number of people. X equals total people. Total people. So then 15% we're going to change it to a decimal, 0.15. 0.15. I don't know why it's always 15%. 0.15 times x, so 15% of the total people equals were the students, and the students were 6 individuals. So 6. Now we can solve for the total number of people. And from there, we can find the percentage. We can find the number of teachers, and then we can find the number of administrators, and then find the difference between them. So now we divide both sides by 0.15. Divide this by 0.15, this one by 0.15. What do we get? 6 divided by 0.15. You put that into decimals. 6 divided by 0.15. You get x equals 40. So the total number of the total people equals 40. From there, let's just recheck the question. How many more teachers were invited? So teachers were invited than school and district administrators. So we're going to do teachers minus administrators. I'm just going to put admin. So we are told that 45% are teachers from the current high school. So 45% times 40, so 0.45 times 40. There's a decimal, a period right there. So 0.45 times 40, that is, I'm going to put that in decimals. 0.45 times 40 is 18. So 18 is the total number of teachers. And then the number of admin. The number of admin is 25% are admin. So you put 0.25 times 40 equals 10. So then you just do teachers minus admin. So 18 teachers minus the 10 admin. There was 8 more teachers compared to admin, and it's a short answer question, so you just type 8 and press enter. And that is it. So that is it for today's video. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Or if you want anything, like a specific video or anything, please just let me know. So yeah, that is it. If you guys can, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe, like, click the bell, and share. I am uploading daily, so I will be finished with the series with problem solving, data analysis, and geometry by the end of the month. Algebra and advanced math focus skills have already been published. So if you guys want to go watch those, they should be beside the blue thing. And thank you for watching, and bye.